Timber me timbers. Nasty Man from the yard.
Walk the plank. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where it is in this wonderful country of America. Welcome to the Rumboyz Fantasy Network. I am your host for the evening. The host, as always, actually, I need to really stop saying that. Get something better for my intro. It's your boy, the Admiral Rumboyz, Robbie. Today, I am joined with Joe from Turn Up the Jets. Joe, what is good, bro?
Yo, man, what's good, dude? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, hell yeah, man! I saw you working with Bogard. You know, here fairly routinely, actually. You do collaborate. I saw your Instagram content, and I was like, let me go in and work with the guy. You know, 6 degrees of separation. If Bogard likes him, if Bogard enjoys him, I'm gonna enjoy him. Plus, I need some help covering the goddamn Jets. So I'm happy that you're here to join us, brother.
Hell yeah, man.
First, you know, before we get into the show, I do have to make sure that pay some damn bills, right? You got to keep the lights in the studio on. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in, make sure that you check us out on monkeyknifefight.com, and you can use promo code Rumboyz in all caps, just how you see it spelled above me. Use promo code Rumboyz in all caps. Win you some cold hard cash off the sports and games that you love. Okay, playing some daily fantasy props. We have everything from NASCAR over there. We got UFC. We have esports competitions going on. Well, those are sports that are happening right now. We also have the big competitions that are going to be coming up because it looks like football is going to go off without a hitch. So we have football. We have NBA action happening over there whenever those playoffs get started back up. That should be happening soon. And we have MLB action over there. All your sports needs, win you some cash, monkeyknifefight.com. And then also, I just want to shout out Fanatics. Whenever you guys are shopping on fanatics.com, use our link, of which I will drop in the chat. And this week's promo code is the promo code PICK. So use promo code PICK and get 25% off site-wide whenever you use the Rumboyz link to shop on Fanatics to get some of your favorite gear, from jerseys to socks, wristbands, you name it, official licensed merch from the NFL, NBA, NCAA, and much, much more. You ready to get into some sports, bro? You ready to talk some football?
Let's go, man. Let's talk some ball.
Hell yes. So first player that we got to talk about, first one up, whenever we're talking about fantasy football relevance, first off, cheers to me, cheers to you, all the Rumboyz and girls, what to do, daily. We got to make sure we bless the show.
Let's get it.
So first player that we are going to talk about is the quarterback position, and that's Sam Darnold. Tell me a little bit about Sam Darnold. 3,000 yards, 3,000 plus passing yards, 19 TDs. Let's talk about it, man. Is he a guy that you should go out and get in fantasy?
Yeah, I mean, looking at Darnold in a fantasy standpoint, there's a lot of ups, but there's also a lot of downs here. Last year it was interesting. We all know, after week 1, he was diagnosed with mono. It kind of screwed everything up, screwed the process, screwed up the breakout year for him. People don't realize, but this is a guy who is younger than Joe Burrow at 22. He's the youngest quarterback to ever start a game, and he's had 0 weapons. So in terms of this, the Jets did go 7-6 with Darnold as the quarterback. He had 21 total touchdowns, and he kind of flirted with, a waiver wire type of guy if you had a quarterback injured. I know guys like Breeze and Mahomes went down. If you had to grab a guy, you were really in need for one. I think Darnold was serviceable enough at the end of last season. There's still obviously questions, but the thing is, when you look at fantasy, for me, the last thing you think about is an offensive line. But what the line does, it's going to protect him. And they had the 30th ranked offensive line last year, and this bodes with Le'Veon Bell as well. But with Darnold here, it's tough to make those plays with low tier weapons and no protection. But I believe that the Jets have made multiple upgrades on the offensive line and
Back then.
trying to give him some weapons. So this is definitely an interesting guy here. But for me personally, I'm not going to go and say start him. I mean, he's only a 5% owned guy in all fantasy leagues, so he's more so that QB2, QB3, or still in that stash in those dynasty leagues because he is still only 22 years old.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of fantasy football, whenever we talk about Sam Darnold, he is ranked 27th amongst his position group. Like you mentioned, 5% rostered. Does it scream, obtain me, draft me whenever we're talking about redraft leagues. Now, if you're in a 2 QB league, I have no problems with you picking Sam Darnold as QB2. I kind of group Sam Darnold in the same category as another New York quarterback in Daniel Jones, whereas how I always tell people, these are 2 QB fantasy or QB2 fantasy football tier type of guys. Maybe you don't draft them as your QB1 in redraft. In Dynasty, if you're in a Dynasty startup, sure, I have no problem with you going to grab Darnold because he's still young and and the quarterback position is one where guys play for a while. They tend to be there, and the rules and the structure of the NFL is set up to keep them safe so they can have long careers. So I have no problems with you grabbing Sam Darnold in Dynasty. Redraft, I worry there. But he is up 0.1% in the last 7 days. So I mean, he's trending. That 0.1% is not a whole lot, but it's something.
Hey, we'll take all we can get. Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, QB2, that's kind of what I had here too. I mean, if you're late rounds and you have like a really good quarterback, a Watson, a Mahomes, a Breeze, a Lamar Jackson, then I would feel pretty comfortable of taking that risk, having a top tier quarterback and then maybe having a guy that could essentially break out. I know all the love has been to Josh Allen. That's a different discussion for a different day for me personally, but I still think that, this kid has all the potential in the world. He was the 3rd overall pick for a reason. So it's in terms of, QB2, there's not much risk, there in my opinion.
Absolutely. I can agree there. And in fantasy football, one of the things that you really want to make sure that you do is minimize risk absolutely as much as possible. So I like that you brought that up. I want to get into the running game here. And running backs infamously underneath Adam Gase tend to have a little bit of trouble. But you guys do have one Le'Veon Bell. He wasn't great last year, but he wasn't bad. What are your feelings about Le'Veon Bell heading into this season, both not only as a Jets fan, but then also as a fantasy football manager as well?
Yeah, for a fantasy manager last year, I was disappointed in Le'Veon Bell. Personally, I got him in the 1st round. The 9th overall pick, he was there. Obviously, I had that little bias to being a Jets fan. But I can't blame that at all on Bell saying, he sat out a year. He doesn't have it anymore. The Jets were the 31st ranked offensive line against the run. And we all know Bell has that patient running style. And that's how he really evolved as a Steeler and evolved as a multi-year number 1 draft pick in every fantasy draft. I mean, that was the first guy on the list, I would say, every year. So the thing is, he still managed 1,000 yards total, had 789 rushing yards, had 4 touchdowns total. And if that's his floor, just imagine what his ceiling could be. I'm viewing him as a 4th or 5th rounder. So if you can have, the floor is what he had, just imagine what his ceiling could be. And that's kind of what I still believe in, because I feel like 1 year off just doesn't make a guy be non-existent, because he was a fantasy legend before,
Yeah.
Kind of having that downfall with Pittsburgh.
And in PPR formats, he's the guy that you want because, like you mentioned, I mean, he can catch out the backfield. So I mean that's something that bodes very well for him. Like you mentioned, I mean, he had the 789 on the ground. He still made it to that 1,000-yard total combined with his receiving as well. It's not a touchdown machine to have 245 attempts and then to only get me 700 yards on the ground. That worries me. But like you just mentioned, 4th, 5th round, I have absolutely no problems grabbing Le'Veon Bell. 4th, 5th round, Le'Veon Bell. If I got a guy like Le'Veon Bell at the 4th, 5th round, and he takes me to a championship, I just feel like that I'm the smartest guy in the room in that draft. And that's the way that you want to leave. Like if you're drafting, out at the bar at your buddy's house, you want to leave the room feeling like you just won right there from day one. I like Le'Veon Bell as a late pick. I like him more so if you can get him as a flex play. In terms of strategy, if I have, my RB1 and RB2 set, I'll probably go receiver, and then when that 5th round comes back around, and if Le'Veon is still sitting there, he's probably going to be sitting around the same ADP, same draft position as Todd Gurley or someone along the lines, I'm going to take him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like you just brought up Gurley. It's guys like Gurley, Bell, and Melvin Gordon especially are going to be guys that go in those 4th, 5th rounds. And that's the thing. I mean, if you can get even an RB2 at best here, I'm not viewing him as an RB1. Who knows? I mean, with an improved line, we don't really know. But on a draft day, RB2 flex, if he's your flex, I'm feeling pretty good, just like kind of those other guys too, because that's probably who you'll probably see around those 4th, 5th rounds. And for a guy who was probably still a first rounder last season, and to possibly get him in the 5th round, it's kind of almost to the point that it's almost the low risk, high reward. Because if his ceiling's 1,000 yards, he's still going to be startable. He's not going to be exciting, but he'll still be able to be a startable type player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I, for one, also believe that he's not going to let what happened last year happen again. I feel like he's going to come in this year looking at last year's stats, and he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and he's really going to want to play. Yeah, cool. You got your money, but dude, stop doing freaking rap albums. Like we don't need your records right now. We need you focused on putting your shoulder through a motherfucker's face. So, I mean, if he's not posting a whole lot, like, I mean, I haven't been paying attention to his social media, but I haven't seen him posting like new music videos or anything lately. So, I mean, hopefully he's focused. If he is focused, then I look forward to drafting Le'Veon Bell this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's still on the music, but he needs to come back, better offensive line, and freaking perform for once, with the Jets.
Hey, really nice jewelry though, man. He's got a whole lot of ice.
He does.
We're gonna keep it on the running game. Now, this one completely just baffled me, and this just has classic, typical Adam Gase written all over it, and that is the acquisition of the ageless wonder, no other than Frank Gore. Everyone's saying that he's going to be more so of a locker room presence, and I'm just going to personally tell people that if you think that all he's going to be is a locker room presence when he is on the verge of breaking multiple rushing title milestones, you are freaking drunk. You are out of your mind. Like they're gonna give this old man the ball. I think that he'll be fantasy relevant in some capacity. At worst, he's a late round draft pick in redraft scenarios. Dynasty, forget about it. You don't even need to draft Frank Gore. But what are you thinking about the ageless wonder for your Jets this year, man?
Yeah, I mean, this was interesting, and typically I went and looked and kind of saw what his fantasy relevance has been. And last year, surprisingly, he was considered that handcuffed to Devin Singletary with the Bills. But when Singletary went down, like Bell was almost, Gore was almost ownable in that sense. Which if you had a bye week for a running back, he could have been useful. And I totally agree. I mean, the dude's played 15 years and has had 9,000-yard seasons, and he keeps on getting signed for a reason because he could obviously still play. They're not just signing him just to sit in the locker room.
Nope.
I do think he'll have some relevance here, especially if you get Bell and you're still not feeling it, go get him and go get Gore in maybe anywhere between the 12th and the 14th rounds. I don't see any risk at that point because if Bell goes down, you're not totally screwed. I know if Singletary owners last year had that same thing happen to them, they weren't totally screwed when Gore was forced to be the starting back.
I agree. One of the things that I'm interested in here is Le'Veon has had a lot of work. Like he had a heavy workload, like we mentioned earlier. 245 attempts. Okay, and that was through a full 15. That was through 15 games. I get not playing, the final 2 weeks, whatever. That's fine. But to me, that's essentially a full fucking season right there, man. Gore's gonna come in if anything happens to Bell, and I feel like that. I can't believe I'm about to use these words in the same sentence. And football fans and football gods, please forgive me. But maybe this might be really smart by Adam Gase. Gosh, I can't just believe I put smart and Gase in the same.
Oh, shit.
God. But because that Gore is gonna come in and in a running back by committee scenario, he's not gonna complain or anything. He's not gonna bitch, moan, complain, and he's gonna be able to take away some of that bring that 245 down to maybe a 205, from 245 to 205 touches. I'd be okay with that, especially if I'm in Dynasty, because it's like, okay, cool, Coach Gase, you're not out there getting our guy killed on the field for freaking a whole season when nothing is realistically happening. In redraft scenarios, late round pick, cool. Yeah, you can spend it on Gore. If there is something better there for you, BPA, best player available, go best player available, obviously. But I have no problems if you grab Gore, especially if you have Le'Veon Bell. And if something happens, cool. You have a very old handcuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I kind of view him right now, like the oldest handcuff ever. That's how I kind of look at Gore right now. But you're not wrong with the Gase thing. I mean, Gase obviously he wanted to bring him in last season, was the rumor, but things kind of fell through. He went to the Bills, and I was not surprised one bit that Gase got his way this year. So it should be interesting. I mean, he's definitely a different type of runner than Bell, so it's that good change of pace. So it's realistic that he gets more carries than we think, even though he's freaking 37 years old.
Yeah. Freaking Adam Gase. The way Adam Gase watches running back film is
yeah, oh god. And the thing is that, people like Bell was still mad about his carries, and like I don't know. I don't know what's going through Adam Gase's head. I really don't.
Yeah. Look, Bills Mafia Rob in the chat says no more handcuff players, please. I agree. I agree. It's a waste of a draft pick. But it also depends on your strategy too. Let's talk about you guys' newest weapon, your rookie wide receiver, Denzel Mims. I wasn't high on this guy. He did have a little bit of a case of the drops there in college, but I mean, I'm gonna turn it over to you, brother. What are you thinking about Mims? And I'm also gonna have to run behind camera really quick and fix something. But I'm listening.
Yeah, I mean, with Mims, he was obviously the second round pick. I think how they got him, 59th overall, it was definitely a steal in that aspect. Yeah, I like his size. He's a big dude. He's 6'3", 215 pounds, and he also runs a 4.38. And I think the drops, yes, it was a concern, but at Baylor, he was a 3-year starter, and he was really consistent. That's what I liked about him. A lot of rookie receivers get drafted because they have that one breakout season, but Mims was kind of a guy who produced in 3 years, and he had at least 700 yards receiving, and then the other two he had 1,000-yard receiving yards and scored at least 8 touchdowns. So he's a valuable target in the red zone, and I think Sam Darnold hasn't had a really good target in the red zone ever since he's been in the league. And with the big, strong guy, with Mims, I like the potential here. He's only 8% owned in fantasy leagues. I think he's a wide receiver 4 at best right now, and a dynasty guy that could be interesting just because the Jets are expecting him to be the guy, like to be the wide receiver 1. And I mean, last year he did have over 1,000 yards, 60+ catches, 12 touchdowns. It's possible, and if the Jets can move the ball downfield, and if he could be that valuable guy in the red zone, then yeah, I mean, if I have a touchdown or a bust type guy receiver on my bench, I'm cool with that. But I'm not going to draft him. I'm not reaching for him by any means. But if I'm in a dynasty league, I think he fascinates me a little bit in terms of dynasty formats. I can't hear you, bro. I don't know why.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, I had the cord halfway in. No, dude, I completely agree with you. In dynasty formats, I'm definitely trying to grab Mims anywhere and everywhere that I can on a team like the Jets. That the ball's going to be going to him, and you don't draft this guy without anticipating that those Robbie Anderson targets are going to now go somewhere else. Do any of us think that they're going to go to the other 2 receivers that we're talking about? No, hell no. Their workload will be their workload, and what it's always been. I like Denzel Mims here. I think that he is someone that you should definitely go and draft. I don't think that you need to reach for him in redraft. The problem with redrafting rookies is you never know what they're going to do at the NFL level. But given his scenario and given the team that he's placed with, it's a very fantasy-friendly scenario for him because we just know that the ball is going to go there. Given the other talent that's on this receiving core, I think that he probably may be the best receiver on this receiving core. I'm willing to go for him. Also, he ran a 4.38. The kid is fast. Mm-hmm. So I'm with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. He's got they want him to be the wide receiver 1. They didn't draft him to be hanging on the bench. They want this dude to be their guy. And for Sam Darnold to kind of get a new weapon here, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to go to him as much as he can. So he's definitely interesting for sure. I mean, he's only 8% owned in leagues, so he's definitely going to be there.
Take note of that right now, everyone that is listening and watching the show. It is May 20th right now. Watch that shoot up to 10% probably in the next couple of weeks. We're going to start seeing a lot of these ownership stats that we're talking about right now change in the next couple of months when it gets closer to draft season, and especially now that we are going to be able to see if players are working out with states opening back up. So given that information and knowing that we're going to be having our hands on that information, look out for Denzel Mims to be a quick riser, and look for his ADP to definitely change. That 8% is going up. When it gets to 10, I'm definitely going to be worried because that means everyone's buying him. Moving on here to another wide receiver. This dude is 74.6% rostered in leagues right now. Jamison Crowder, formerly played for my Washington Redskins, and I was so sad that we gave him to you guys. What is your outlook for 2020 in fantasy with Crowder?
Yeah, Crowder was definitely interesting. I mean, I think people last season was looking at Robbie to be the wide receiver one, rather, in terms of fantasy relevance. But it was really Crowder. I think he was by far the best receiver on the roster. Piled up over 800 yards, 6 touchdowns. I know in PPR leagues, he's pretty valuable out of the slot. He had 5+ 20-point games, so he had those breakout games too. I think he's a nice flex for sure. I mean, I'm not going to go and reach for him by any means, but 74% owned. I mean, that shocked me too. I saw that last night when I was looking and see where he was rising up. I mean, he was a top 25 ranked PPR wide receiver, so it makes sense. And that's the same thing. I mean, Darnold got a new weapon last year in Crowder, and he just threw at him. He had 14 catches the first game of the year last year. Darnold obviously trusts him, so I think that is good. I would say he's the safest option out of the 3 wide receivers. Yes. But I think the other 2 guys definitely could have that higher ceiling because they're going to be drafted, in the later rounds. I think Crowder could maybe hit, 8th round, 9th round. I think he'll be there. I know he's ranked in the top 100, so
yeah. He's he's actually even I'll do one better for you. He is in the top 40 in terms of fantasy relevance at his position. He is the 34th receiver. Me knowing that this is a guy that can place that high, and everyone knows my philosophy whenever I do these breakdowns. You have about only 96 you have about 96 wide receivers that you can realistically draft from. Whereas it's about 32 running backs, so that's why I always preach the running back heavy. If I'm going to get a guy like Crowder at the back end of the draft, and especially if I'm going to go RB, maybe I go RB 3rd round, or maybe I go receiver right there just to break up the monotony, then I'm okay with securing a guy in the pretty much damn near in the top 30, in the top 35. I'm okay with that. He's a lot more reliable for you than, let's say, someone that typically goes around his draft position, and I don't know, a Deshaun Jackson, whereas that guy's always getting hurt, that guy's getting injured. You don't want that. This is a safe pick for you in terms of Jamison Crowder. Just like Joe said, I'm not advising that you go and reach for him, but I am stating that he is fantasy friendly. And if you miss out on some other guys around his draft position that you're maybe on the board looking at, grabbing him's not bad. I see him 8th, 9th round. You should be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he could be either that flex guy or that first wide receiver coming out of the bench, typically in 10-man leagues. Maybe 12 to 14, he could be a starter. He easily could be a starter. Just because, he's had that 1 year to develop with Sam. And if you look at it, he's the only returning starting receiver for the Jets that Sam had last year, because Robbie's gone, Demaryius Thomas is gone, and now Mims and Perriman are in there. And Crowder's the only guy he has that, he's familiar with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Crowder earlier, against the other 2 guys that are just coming in for year 1.
Hell yeah, I'm with it. Let's see. Next player that we are going to talk about is Brashad Perriman. So you guys get Brashad Perriman coming from Tampa, who actually was decent towards the later half of last year. He was a waiver wire guy for most people in most of their leagues. What is your outlook, especially knowing that a lot of people were on the Perriman train towards the end of last year?
Yeah, I mean, he was the last 5 games when Godwin and Evans went down. Perriman was the guy, and in 5 starts he had at least 70 yards. He had 3 100-yard games, which he scored 20 or more fantasy points, and he had 5 touchdowns. So that was a little crazy to me. When the Jets got him, I knew he had the relevance in terms of fantasy, but looking at the stats, I was pretty shocked of how good he actually was when he was that number 1 guy. in terms of fantasy relevance, I mean, it's really difficult. I think in reality, I wouldn't be surprised if he was, the best Jets receiver, like the most productive. But in fantasy, it's so much different, and that's why I kind of leaned more towards Crowder. So, but with Perriman, he's kind of that I like to say that diamond in the rough. He's not going to get a lot of love. But what he did last year, it's interesting. He was a former first round pick with the Ravens. He has size, he has speed, and he's still 26. Some guys, you see the kind of peak and they're kind of late bloomers. So it is a possibility, but yeah, he's really fascinating to me, especially down the stretch. Like you said, he was basically like one or two top waiver wire guys every week when Godwin and Evans were down.
He tied, in terms of just touchdowns alone, just the touchdown category alone, he tied for 24th amongst receivers at his position in 2019. So that part I absolutely fucking love. 6 TDs last year, and you definitely clearly were not the first option on that Tampa Bay offense. You're still definitely eating. So I like Perriman. One of the things that you said that was so fascinating was the late bloomer take. I think that this kid is the almost damn near epitome of that. When you look at his career from when it started in Baltimore and even his time in Cleveland, I wasn't that fascinated with. I thought that might have been probably the end of him right there, and then Tampa gave him a shot. He's always been one of those boomer bust type of guys. In DFS formats, that you're going to be able to buy him any given Sunday dirt fucking cheap. Like that he's going to be dirt cheap. So I like him in DFS. Like you said, he's still 26 years old. So even in startup dynasties, feel free to go ahead and grab them. Redraft. Whenever we're talking about these guys as a whole, all three of them between Mims, Crowder, and Perriman, I feel like you could probably these guys could maybe all be drafted around the same area. Don't be surprised when you see 8, 9, 10 rounds with 3 Jets receivers that come off the board between you and your league mates. I'm personally not drafting him, but if you do draft him, there's going to be some upside. I feel like his stats show that he's going to eat irregardless of who's on the wide receiver core along with him. And you're right, he probably could damn well be their best and most productive receiver, and we're just maybe not seeing it. But I like Perriman a lot. 17.9 yards average per catch. That's fucking crazy.
That is fucking crazy. And I know I saw he was top 50 still. I mean, it's nothing to jump out your seat about, but the dude only had 5 starts, so it was pretty crazy. And comparing him, not to bash on my boy Robbie Anderson, but I mean, when you look at their stats, they're almost similar. And Robbie Anderson started 10 more games than he did. And I guarantee you, Anderson is taken way before Perriman, just because, the hype going to the Panthers. Like you said, I'm not going to go out of my way to get Perriman, but if he keeps falling, and I don't have if I don't have a Jets receiver yet, because I'm not gonna grab 2 on the same team. That's just crazy. I think it's kind of luck of the draw. Whatever the 3 you get there, we'll see what happens. But if he's there and I got no Jets receivers, I'd be okay with that. But if I already had Crowder and Mims, I'm gonna sit back because there's still a lot of question marks here, especially in a fantasy standpoint. It's really all about Darnold in the O-line for anyone to be relevant.
He's rostered in 27% of leagues.
Yeah.
That's telling me that maybe I should probably be looking at Perriman a little bit more.
Right, yeah, because 27%, if you're in a 10-man league, that's almost like the last 2 rounds when those guys, kind of those like the late bloomer guys, 20%, 10%, kind of the guys that you're like, maybe he'll break out. And I think Perriman will be on the board. I don't think, maybe outside of, I think the Jets and the Buccaneers, a lot of people don't really know much about this guy, or the people that did pick him up and he got them, 3 touchdowns against the Lions last year with 29 fantasy points. there's just going to be some people that really have familiarity with the player, and some people that he
don't.
probably sucks. Yeah, because he's on the Jets.
Yeah. And we then now that's actually a great segue into someone that people you have some the industry is 50-50 on this guy. Some are super sold and they're hype, and then some are like, when is he gonna pop off? And I'm kind of a lot more so along the lines of like, when is he gonna really establish himself? And that's no other than Chris Herndon at the tight end position. I mean, I know that you guys got Ryan Griffin, and we were talking before the show, but we don't really believe that he's probably going to be like the most fantasy-friendly tight end on this offense. What are we thinking about Chris Herndon this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the potential is there, but in his rookie year, it kind of took him down a little bit. But through week 6 and on, he was actually the 9th-ranked fantasy player as a rookie. Had 500 yards. Had 4 touchdowns. Was 12th in receptions after week 6 and out of any tight end in fantasy, and was also 12th of yards per catch. The thing I like, he's that big but athletic tight end type, and a lot of these guys, don't seem to always stay healthy. You've seen it firsthand with an Evan Ingram. I suffered personally with someone like him last year, really struggling to stay on the field, and I think Herndon showed it last year as well, only playing 1 game. But dude, his rookie year was pretty great, and it really sucked that he went down and he wasn't able to build off of that. He's definitely that breakout candidate, and I know that's kind of the hype. He's only 23.7% owned, and the dude is only in his 3rd year, so he's 23, 24 at the oldest. So like shit, I think there's a lot of like, we talked about the show too, like you said with Hawkinson. There's a lot of those young tight ends going in their 2nd, 3rd year. They're undervalued. They're 20% owned. And if I don't like going to reach for a Kittle, for a Kelsey, really in the early rounds. I don't love that. Even when Gronk and Graham were the big type of guys, I never ever wanted to reach for the first 3 rounds for a tight end. I mean, that's the time you get your running backs and your wide receivers, or maybe the best quarterback on the board. I just don't see the hype of getting a tight end that early. So that's the only thing that makes me, for a guy that waits late. Hell, I mean, I'll take a risk on 2 tight ends and see which one pans out. And that's kind of what I look at Herndon right away. He's a tight end too. I'm not going to make him my starter right away. I'm going to have someone to maybe compete, play by matchup, and kind of see who blooms and see if he does stay healthy. So I think that's the most important thing.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. I couldn't agree more. This is a guy that I know for a fact that everyone in my draft is probably going to be passing on him. If I don't end up with, an Austin Hooper, a Hayden Hurst, if I do choose to go tight end early, I lose out on a Mark Andrews. Everyone knows I'm super high on Mark Andrews. I would be okay with, in the late rounds, towards the end of my draft, me grabbing a Chris Herndon. Now, the problem is that that when you make the pick is that people are going to look at you real fucking crazy because he did not play last year. He played a game last year against the Giants. I mean, you can try and spin it. His rookie year, yada yada yada. I feel that there are other tight ends that you should go and get. There are definitely other tight ends you should go and get. Just because, there's just too many question marks. Can he get hurt again? I mean, I don't think that he will. Maybe if you're going to gamble on someone that's been hurt before, I mean, gamble on a Hunter Henry. Do I see myself eating my words right now later on when it comes to Herndon? Absolutely, because of the upside that he has, because of all the hype. For people that are really deep into this shit in the industry, like because of what's surrounding him, I feel like I'm gonna eat my words later on. Herndon comes back. He's definitely going to be the tight end one on that team. They're going to be targeting the tight end on that team. I see no reason why maybe off of waiver wire, if my tight end gets hurt, I'm going to pick him up.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm not jumping out of the seat for him right now. He definitely has that injury risk. His situation's a lot of question marks. Again, how the offensive line's going to perform, how is Darnold going to perform. But, I mean, cool thing is that, Darnold did have the second highest QB rating out of anyone last season besides Drew Brees when targeting the tight end. So that kind of fascinated me. He managed to get Griffin 5 touchdowns. We said he was kind of fooling around with the waiver wire last year. Griffin has no relevance this year at all. I'm not going near him. Just like I'm not going near any receiver after Mims with the Jets receivers here. But, yeah, he's the definition of boomer bust, but you're not drafting him as your starting tight end. You're kind of drafting him, again, like a Perryman, that late bloomer guy. I think you kind of see a theme here with all these Jets players. It's going to be either you hit on him or, shit, he was terrible. I'm probably going to release him by week 8. So.
Well, and that actually perfectly leads us into the big question here is how fantasy friendly is this team and is this offense as a whole? If you were to pick apart what we've said, I mean, I have my own opinion, but I'll let you begin, Joe. Guess first.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it all show here that it's all about if those players can come in, develop, perform, and it's way easier said than done. In terms of fantasy, if I'm going in, I'm honestly gonna give them only a C here, just because there's a lot of questions, but there are a lot of guys that you can get in the later rounds here. The only guy that you're probably going to get within the top 10 rounds is Bell and Crowder. That's it. The other guys considered those late round guys that maybe could produce, maybe be my wide receiver 3 or 4, or my running back 2 or 3, or my tight end 2 and 3. So that's really what I got to say in terms of, fantasy relevance. I'm not going to go Jets happy here. I'm a fan first, I will say that, but if I'm drafting, I'm not going to mix that shit up. I want to maybe one, maybe 2 guys here. That way it's not impacting me a whole lot. And but yeah, I'd give them a C. And I know I wanted to mention a little bit. I think honestly, if you're standard format here or PPR, whatever you do with one defense, the Jets defense is really interesting as well. They were the 7th ranked defense last season in fantasy and had the most injuries in the NFL. That's the only thing that kind of stood out to me here. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say in terms of fantasy relevance, they're a C for me.
Yeah, I know. I completely forgot about the defense as well. I know that you wanted to hit on the defense earlier. I like the Jets defense. With Jamal Adams, Onswar, linebacker. All the different things that you guys are putting together there. So I do like the Jets defense is draftable defense. And pretty much their defense is the only thing that keeps them in games a lot of the time. So that helps.
Yep. They're gonna have to. That's all that keeps them in games here.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling as a Skins fan. Me as well. I'm not going. I'm not going to run out there and go and pick a bunch of New York Jets. If you guys have been watching the series, I go through and kind of just advise you who I would and who I wouldn't. Who I would avoid and who I would not avoid. In its entirety, realistically, are you going to see any of these players on any of my rosters? Bell at best, Mims maybe.
Right.
But I mean, outside of that, I've been scorned by Jamison Crowder. That's not happening. Chris Herndon would probably end up on my team like throughout the waiver wire. We all know that I'm not a fan of Sam Darnold, aka Shovel Face, as I like to call him. No, it's just a thing, bro. I don't know why I just started it, and then it became a thing, and it stuck like that. Jim, you're right. Bogart, C.J. Mosley coming back.
Bogart. Hell yeah.
But I mean, all in all, I'm gonna be a little bit more harsh than Joe. Joe is the homer here, and we did bring
Yeah, for
in
sure.
a fan to break down their team and to give you guys the truth. And I like that. You know, it's very hard to talk about your team in this format. Like, I'm not looking forward to when I have to do my Redskins and I end it and I'm like, fuck the whole team. It's an F. I will give you guys a D plus because, and I put that plus there because you guys are trying to go. Actually, all right, C minus. C minus is where we'll
I was
go.
going C minus C. That's kind of where I was too.
We'll go C minus. I will go C minus. I was gonna go D plus, and I saw a look on your face, and I was like, he hates me right now.
No, dude. Hey, this is fantasy here. I totally get it. They got a lot of question marks. It's only because I'm reading about these players every single day, so maybe it's trying to make me believe. But usually, I'm fucking disappointed. So I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna go crazy here, but
Yeah.
C minus. That's what I was looking at too. It's nothing crazy. It's Bell, Crowder,
Exactly.
a late
Hey,
round guy, basically.
look, we got 32 teams in the league. I got 30. I've done 3 of these down, so I got what 29 more teams, 30 more teams that I gotta do for y'all. Yeah, 39 or 29 more teams. So, hopefully, when Jets fans see this, they're not like, fuck this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's like, my fantasy championships say otherwise.
It's a whole different game, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Joe. I greatly, greatly appreciate you for joining us today here on the Rumboyz Fantasy Network. Can you tell people where they can find you, your content, all that good stuff, man? Go ahead and you got some time. Promote.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, again, thank you for having me on. This was super cool. It definitely was cool to break down those players. Hopefully, I didn't come out as too biased, but Bogart and I talked to. I kind of feel like I'm a realist Jets fan, but you can find me here. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, and now newly to Twitter. So you can find me on Instagram at turn_up_the_Jets, 2 S's. I know it's a little pain. Then you can find me on Twitter at turnupthejets, no underscores, one whole word. And then you can find me on YouTube as well. Same thing, turn up the jets, all one word. But my YouTube account is also in the bio of my Instagram. Instagram is probably my most active account. I branched off to YouTube, and now I'm finally on Twitter. So now I'm on 3 streams here, just trying to build it up. So that's where you can find me.
Hell yeah! And I'll have I'll go back at the end of this, and I'll put in the description. I'll put Turn Up the Jets link in the description so you guys can check him out, check out all of his Jets content for all the Jets fans that follow us out there. Joe, I greatly appreciate it, brother. Thank you for coming on. All of you guys out there listening, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day, checking out today's live stream. Usually we do these as just an upload, but figured, fuck it, why not? We do something different today. Make sure, once again, you guys go to monkeyknifefight.com. Sign up. When you sign up, use promo code Rumboyz in all caps, just the way that it is spelled above me. Why do I'm so used to pointing in that direction. But spelled in Rumboyz, as you guys see there right above my head, in all caps. We will match your very first deposit all the way up to $50. So you deposit 50, play some games. We're going to give you an extra 50. You got $100 right there to play some games. So instead of being stuck in a quarantine, being bored, I know there's golf this weekend, NASCAR. No fights this weekend. We'll have fights back June 6th for UFC. So, head to monkeyknifefight.com. If you need official licensed merch from your favorite NFL, NCAA, NBA, MLB teams, whatever the league is, whatever the players, use our link. Go to fanatics.com utilizing our link that I just dropped right there in the live chat. And you can go ahead and get some gear. If you need that Terry McLaurin jersey, or hey, you need that Sam Darnold jersey. Fanatics, we got you. Use our link in the chat. Other than that, you can follow me at Rumboyz, spelled as ZNET, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Check us out on rumboyz.com. Check out all we got some new articles up over on rumboyz.com. Big shout out to the whole writing staff. Big salute to you guys. And also check out some of our dope merch and support the podcast by rocking your favorite Rumboyz gear, your Rumboyz drip. I'll be back tomorrow for Rumboyz After Dark. You won't want to miss it. Tomorrow's a Thursday. Tomorrow we have Business and Brews. I'll be speaking with Joe from Monkey Knife Fight. So we'll be having Monkey Knife Fight on tomorrow's show, teaching you guys about, there's just a different, jobs you can have in the sports world. So tomorrow we'll be talking with the guys that run that service over there. Teaching you about, app development and, sports marketing, all that good shit. It's going to be fucking fire. Other than that, cheers to me. Cheers to you. All the rum boys and girls, what to do. This is a fucking Modelo. This is not rum. I left the rum down in the freezer, but cheers. I'm out. Peace.
Good enough.
Mm.
Peace.